Hi there, welcome to Transcorner Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2019 Keystone Springdale 252RL. We are just going to start off with the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you're pre-wired for an observation camera. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact the parts department. Also located at the back is your spare tire. And this is also where you're going to find this little mount for your exterior grill. Just pulling that pin out, it'll allow you to fold this out. You can then hook on your grill. And you do have a propane quick connect line that runs underneath the trailer right here. So you'd have to run that line over this side here, pulling that dust cap off, pulling back on the collar, inserting the line. You'd then insert it into your grill, opening up the flow of propane. Then as an added safety feature, you can operate the coupler with the flow open, so you'd have to close it off. Then you can operate it, take it all down. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory, and then you could just fold this in whenever you're on traveling again, and making sure you do lock it back into place. That way it's not going anywhere, causing any damage. We're just going to start off coming around to the driver's side of the unit. You got your coax inlet. Also, in the bumper cap, pulling it off. So you're going to find your sewer hose. Once fully extended, it is about 20 feet long. You just take a note of those ears there. Same ears your sewer outlet's going to have, which I'll run over with you in a second. I'm going to go over stabilizer jack operation. Once we get over to the other side, because that is where the power control is, but let's say the jacks were to fail for whatever reason, they're not working for you. There's a manual override on the driver's side here. You just got to insert the tool onto that shaft there, and you could run them up and down manually if you had to. Obviously, we hope you don't have to. So you're going to have your first dump valve here. This is going to be your dirtiest water. It's going to be your black tank. You're always going to want to empty this one first, as it's going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that and come to this valve here, which is going to be your gray valve. And I totally messed that up, so I'm sorry for that. This is going to be your black valve. This is going to be your dirtiest water. The one back there is going to be your galley, and this one is going to be your gray. The gray is going to be for your bathroom. The galley is going to be just for the kitchen sink. And of course, the black is going to be for your toilets. So always empty the black. Then you can do the gray and move forward and go to the galley. You got a black tank flush. So the way that works is making sure you read the caution sticker. You do have to have the sewer hose connected and the black tank open. Very important you do so. Otherwise, you do run the risk of bursting your tank. Just because if you're pushing pressure inside of that tank and the pressure's got nowhere to go, it could expand the tank to the point of cracking. Got your main power cord inlet here, standard 30 amp plug end, pulling that guy off. Most campsites should have this and you can plug right on in. This is about 15 feet, 20 feet long. Once fully extended, it sucks back into the trailer. You got this little flap here so you can untuck it so you get no critters climbing in. And we do include a 15 amp park adapter in case you have the unit at home and you want to run your fridge, or your campsite only has 15 amp service. Just keep in mind, when you're on 15 amp service, you can't run the air conditioner off that. Exterior shower, standard 751 key to open up that. Unit should come included with that. Got your city water connection, so if you're out of sight with service, thread a garden hose in there, turned on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the needing to run your water pump. And then you do have your fresh water inlet. That's what fills your fresh tank. You can put a garden hose in there, fill it up, and that's what fills your fresh tank in case you were boondocking, your water doesn't have service. And nice little feature, because there's no threads, if you had a funnel of some sort and you didn't have a direct spigot, but you had water in a jug of some way, you could empty it into it that way as well. Don't be scared to. And then right down below, you're going to notice this cap back here. This is the drain for the fresh tank. You just got to loosen the cap off. It'll drain all the water that's inside that tank. Around the front of the unit, got your battery located inside that box there. Underneath this cover, you got your two propane tanks. Most of the time, you can access everything you need to just by flipping over this cover. But for the purpose of video, I'll just remove this right off so you can get a better look. It does just slide off nice and easy. You got two 30-pounders. They do work like any standard barbecue though. Right on the front of the regulator, you're gonna notice this switch. Obviously, with it pointed this way, you'll be drawing off this tank. If this tank were to go empty, just closing it. Then you can flip it over to the other side and start drawing off this tank while you're getting that one filled. And like any standard barbecue, counterclockwise, nice and slow to open up the flow of propane. Power tongue jack right up front. Coming around to this side, popping open that compartment. It's a standard 751 key. Maybe it's an M key. Not sure why my master keys aren't working. I'm going to ensure that your keys do work to open that up. But that would just be your storage compartment. It's also where you're going to find your brand new sewer hose, as well as that starter pack. It's going to come with a sewer hose, water hose, some other miscellaneous goodies, including a 15-amp park adapter. Right up front, you're going to have your first set of stabilizer jacks. You're going to have another set at the rear. They do both work the same way. Pretty standard. Push the extend button. Both feet are going to start making their way down to the ground. Whenever you're using this, just keep it in mind they are stabilizing jacks. They're not leveling jacks. Don't try and use them as so, because you could wear out your motor or just even bend the landing gear. Whenever you're running the landing gear down, just keep in mind it is an open gear system, so it's going to put down the foot with the least resistance first. Most of the time, both do come down at the same time regardless, but there is going to be those couple times that maybe they don't. Don't panic. Just keep holding the button until all the feet make their way down to the ground, and you just hear the little motor wind up. And you can let off the button. So you heard that. That's how that works. And then to retract, it's just the total opposite. Again, just remembering they are stabilizing jacks, they're not leveling jacks. Trying to use them to lift the trailer could run the risk of burning the motor, bending your arms. Dutch main entryway door, which I'll go over in a second. Couple plugins on the outside, as well as a coax outlet. Got a little TV mount there in case you want to mount a TV outside. Furnace exhaust, whenever that's running, it's going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Fridge service port, not much you need to worry about there. And then you do have your furnace, the hot water heater service port. I'm going to go over a reset procedure once we get inside. The button I'm going to refer to is just right here. And then you got your pressure relief valve. So whenever you first get to your campsite, give that guy a shot. You see that shot of water coming out of there, letting you know the tank's full and ready to fire up. You got an 1 1/8" drain bolt right down there at the bottom. Pulling that guy out, that is what's going to drain your whole hot water heater. Last but not least, with this compartment, let's see if my master works on this one. Get your little exterior mini fridge. It is only going to work on shore power. It's not 12 volt, unfortunately, so just keep that in mind when you're putting things in there. You might want to just leave it for drinks. Anything meat related could go bad. And try opening up that front storage compartment one last time. With my master. Of course, it worked the second time. You got a little holder to hold it open. Once we open it up, there's going to be some things the prior customers left inside, and that back box is that back grill. Starter kit, which I've already told you about. And then you got your stabilizer jack override. Get inside, you're just taking that assist handle, pushing it up, folding it 90 degrees. It's going to lock in place. You can let it fold down your stairs, which just pull towards you. Last one, and you can open up your door. One thing I'm going to mention now, you're going to notice if you have your door open all the way, it does come into contact with that awning arm. So before you ever operate your awning, just making sure you have the door closed enough so the awning can travel freely back and forth. That way you're not causing any damage to either the awning arm or the door. Once you're inside, you got 2 light switches on the wall. One's going to do the awning LED strip light, and the other one's going to turn on the main living space light. You do have your awning control on the wall. It's pretty simple. You just hold the out button, awning's going to start rolling its way out. Once it's fully extended, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and a little flap hang down. Always keep an eye on wind speeds whenever you do put this out. Once it starts picking up, especially if you're going to bed, you want to make sure you bring that awning in, as you don't want to rip the fabric or bend your arms. Doesn't take much. You see that little flap hanging down, so that's when you know you're fully extended. Now, if it were to start raining, You can take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now I feel like that angle better because it allows for more shade underneath. You can do the same thing with the front arm. Just always making sure you do push these arms back to straight before you bring the awning in. And let's say you did bring it in while it was raining, always bringing it back out at your next earliest convenience, just to make sure that you're not accelerating the growth of mold or mildew because you rolled it in while it was wet. And then to bring it in as simple as pushing the in button, awning is going to start rolling its way in. Once the awning fully contacts the side of the trailer, the motor is going to cut out. And while that's doing that, before we ever run our slide out, you're always going to want to make sure that you always check either side of the slide, inside and out. And the reason I say inside is things do tend to shift during travel. So you always want to make sure that the slide out's going to be able to go in and out freely without being caught, getting anything caught between the walls. It could cause some damage to the slide out or the wall, so we don't want that. And then of course, just on the outside, making sure you have enough room to fully put that slide out out. Holding the out button, the slide out's going to start making its way out. Once it's at its full extension, you're going to hear the motors wind up and click, and that's when you can let off the button. Now that one light switch did turn on, this one living space light, or an entryway light as I would call it. So there you go, you heard the motors wind up. The rest of the lights in the unit are on their own center push buttons. You can turn them on and off as you desire. We're going to start off in the bedroom though. Opening up that door, again, the lights just on their own center push buttons. Standard bedroom space. You got a little storage space underneath the bed where you could store some blankets or anything you'd like. You get access into that front storage compartment from the passenger side of the bed as well. Nice little feature. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. And on this side here, once we roll this up, you're going to see it is a fire exit. So pull that tab, the screen's going to pop right out of place. At that point, you can take your handle, pull it out, and push it out and hop on out of the unit. Now, you got some more accent lighting around the bed here. You can also get access into the bathroom from your bedroom. Keeping in mind this sliding door, always want to make sure you have that travel strap locked, because the door, if you were traveling, it's going to slam around, cause damage. Who knows what else could happen. Mounting bracket for a TV right here. Now we will take a step into the bathroom. Opening up that door, the lights in the bathroom, it's on its own push light, on its own switch, sorry. Opening up this guy, clockwise all the way. You're gonna notice we open up straight into the atmosphere, so if it were to start raining, it's gonna get wet inside here. Now we do sell max air covers here at the shop. It's a cover that goes over top of that. It's gonna allow you to leave that on when it's raining. It's not gonna get wet inside of here. And of course, if you were to forget this open while traveling, you are running the risk of damaging your lid. So keep that in mind. That's another thing that vent lid can help with. If you'd like to get set up with that, just contact our parts department. They'd be more than happy to help you out with a quote. Other than that, your standard bathroom, again, just paying attention to the straddles, shower doors. You don't want those slamming around and smashing on you either. Medicine cabinet up top. Main GFI plug on the wall here. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd look. You got test down below, reset in the middle. Always check that first if you ever have an outlet, because sometimes they do trip randomly. Fire extinguisher right as soon as you walk inside the door. Pretty simple. Pull the pin and shoot. Because this unit's equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane, open up some windows and vents to get some fresh oxygen inside of here. An additional note, they are very sensitive to cleaning chemicals, so if you're cleaning around it, use your best judgment, but it could be that. Up on the wall, you got your thermostat for your system. You're going to notice on the fan section, you got on and then you got auto. I typically always recommend leaving it on auto because it turns the air conditioner into an on-demand system, so it'll kick in and out as needed depending on what you have the room set to and what the room actually is. And then if you turn it on, it's going to run full, the fan's going to run full time regardless of what the room's set to. And then you got your system setting, pretty standard. Off is in the middle. Then you got 2 to the left is fan and cool. Fan is just moving air around. Cool is going to be when the air conditioning takes into effect. And then to the right is going to kill the air conditioner and the fan. Fire up your furnace. The furnace does only have 1 fan speed. It runs off propane, and it's going to move all its air through the floor portals you have throughout the unit. The air conditioner does move its air through the ceiling ducting we have throughout the unit. Or you got this here, running these louvers open, it'll dump all its air into the living space. It's a good measure to do when you first get to your campsite. Cool off the main living space, then shut these off, shut these up, and it'll move all its air through the rest of the unit. Cupboard, tons of storage space all throughout. Of course, just be mindful of drains, water lines, and things like that. Right down below, you got your main fuse and breaker panel. If you ever have a breaker trip, this is probably where it's going to be. It's going to sit in the middle, so you do have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. You have all your fuses on your right. You got your entertainment center, pretty standard, just like home. You're going to notice on the wall here, you got your different speaker selections. Again, pretty standard. You got outside, inside, both speakers if you want both speakers. USB plugins, of course. Behind the TV, you got your different coax plugins. And then on the bottom one here, it's going to be hard to see, but if you push it, there's a little black button on the right side. It's going to turn that green light on. Now that does turn the antenna on the roof. Now that's also going to improve radio frequency and cell phone frequency. So I typically turn it on once you get to your campsite. But of course, just remembering to turn it off once you're done using the unit, because it does draw battery power. Again, you got your radio down below, storage all around, TV, again, just taking note of that travel strap because you don't want that slamming around breaking either. Below this cabinetry spot, I already went over that, sorry. And then into the slide out area, nice little accent light on its own center push button. You do also have another fire exit in the main living space as well. Releasing these tabs just by lifting up on them like that, that'll allow you to open up that window and hop on out if you'd like. Then to close it, just the total opposite, hooking them in on their little latches, clamping them down, good to go. You got this dinette area. It's currently set up as a seating spot. It also could be turned into another bed space in case you had guests. You're just having to fold the table down, set the tabletop on its desired ledges, and you can take your back cushions to fill in the center, and you can have yourself another bed. Fridge, freezer combo, opening up that guy. The controls are just right here. You turn the on button on. It's going to turn itself on. You got your temperature selection right here. And it is a propane fridge, so you got your different modes. Whenever it's an automatic, it's going to first search for shore power or 12-volt power. Once that's taken away, it'll automatically switch over to gas. If you're out boondocking, you don't want to waste battery power, and you want to run it solely on gas, you could do so just pushing by the mode button. It'll switch over to LP, which is liquid propane, and you'd be running strictly off propane. But what I'll go over quickly right now is if you've had the propane system off for a while, or especially if you've disconnected the bottles, it allows air into the system. Once air gets into the system, it does have to be purged out. The quickest, easiest way to do that is by, once you get to your campsite, you turn the propane back on, come and fire up your stove quickly. It's just the quickest, simplest way to get things going. Now, of course, today it did fire right on up pretty quickly, just because we did have the system running earlier. Now, typically, sometimes it can take a few minutes to get all the air out of there. So whenever you're pushing this in and holding it over to the gas option, always making sure you're keep hitting that sparker every few seconds, because we don't want to build up gas. We all like to keep our eyebrows and eyelashes. If you let the gas build up too much and you hit that igniter and it lit, it could cause a minor combustion. We don't want that. So just be careful with that. And the reason I told you to purge this through this is because if you went to fire up your fridge, your water heater, or your furnace, those only try lighting themselves a couple times before they're going to beep and throw a fault code. And if you didn't know what that means, it could throw a little wrench in your weekend, maybe cause some frustration. And we want to keep that to a minimum. We want to keep your camping experience enjoyable. So just firing up the stove quickly is the best way to do that. Getting the oven light is the same way. You got your oven light as well as some illumination knobs. The prior customer did install a little oven thermometer, nice little touch, so you could tell exactly what temperature it is. To get the oven to light, you're turning it over to the high/pilot option, pushing and holding the knob in. Now the oven, if you haven't purged it yet, can take exceptionally long just because the gas orifice is so small. But once you have that button pressed in, you're gonna see we've already been pressed in for a good 5 seconds and we're not getting anything down below yet. But there you go. It does light up there pretty good. You can see I let off the button and it died out. So you just have to go back over to off, turn it back over to the pilot, push and hold it in. Letting the gas build up a little bit. This is what I mean by purging the system. Sometimes it can be finicky, so just be patient with it and it will fire up eventually. There you go, you got that to light. So just push and hold that, leaving the pilot pushed in for another few seconds until it can hold its own. Once it can hold its own, you just turn it over to your desired temperature and it fires right on up. Glad I did that happen for the video. It doesn't always happen that way. Pulling these 2 screws out from the side here is going to give you access to your hot water heater bypass valves, because of course you don't want antifreeze going into that, so that's where you're going to get access to that. Like I said, storage all throughout. Up on the wall, you can fire up that water heater on either gas or electric. Gas is going to be the quickest way to make hot water, but of course it's not as efficient as electric. Electric takes longer, so I recommend firing it up on gas first. Once that hot water's hot to your preference, kill the gas, give it a few seconds, and then you can fire it up on electric. When you do fire it on gas, hit that button. Water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the 3rd try it doesn't light, this reset light's going to stay on. At that point, you just have to turn the switch off, go hit the reset button I showed you earlier, and then try firing it back up, because again, it just could be a purging issue. Down below, you got all your monitor panel system. Pushing the button gives you the corresponding level. Pretty simple. Water pump button, turning that on fires up your water pump, which draws out of your fresh tank. Again, you do get access to that underneath that panel as well. Recliner chairs at the back. Other than that, pretty standard trailer. Beautiful trailer. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call, but that is going to be it for today.